The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
And now to our main interview of the week that Giorgi Isakadze conducted for the Checkpoint's DFC, U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. Its CEO, Scott Nathan, visited Tbilisi, Georgia, along with Riga, Latvia. In Latvia, CEO Nathan led the U.S. delegation to the 3C Summit in Riga, accompanied by representatives from the Departments of Commerce, Energy and State. CEO Nathan's participation focused on U.S. investments in the 3Cs countries and 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund. In Georgia, CEO Nathan met with current and prospective DFC clients, government leaders, and the local business community. He visited DFC clients Gazelle Finance, TBC Bank, and the American Hospital Tbilisi. With DFC support, Gazelle Finance and the American Hospital Tbilisi are taking on additional activities to benefit displaced Ukrainians in Georgia. Please meet CEO of DFC, Scott Nathan, in a conversation with Giorgi Isakadze.
Hi.
How are you?
Good to see you, Mr. Nathan.
Good to see you.
I'm Giorgi Isakadze.
What a
I'm
pleasure to
editor
meet
of
you.
Forbes in Georgia and doing BMG here as well.
Great. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure meeting you
Thanks,
as well.
thanks for taking interest.
It's the best opportunity for the Georgian business community and for our listeners and followers to be aware about the details, taking into consideration that the last visit of DFC CEO was in 2018.
Yeah.
A lot has been changed since then, Mr. Nathan.
Yes.
So, at the same time, a lot has changed, especially in the region, in our particular region, called the Black Sea region, let's say so. Taking also into consideration another moment, your personal appointment, let me say so, confirmation by the Senate was in the beginning of February, 9th of February,
That's right.
as far as I remember,
Yeah.
just 2 weeks before Russia invaded
Yes.
to Ukraine. My first question will be, how DFC, formerly OPIC, has changed since the last visit of the CEO of DFC to Georgia?
Yeah. Well, it's been a number of years since
Indeed.
CEO. So first and foremost, when the previous CEO came, it was the office. It was it was OPEC. So
OPEC, correct.
yeah. So in late 2019, the Development Finance Corporation launched. But I think your question is really more about the region than about our organization. And it's been a tumultuous number of years. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected the world.
Absolutely.
And the Development Finance Corporation, the whole of the U.S. government, pivoted to address that crisis. Specifically, my agency helped with vaccine distribution around the world, supporting Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, supporting the manufacturing of vaccines in regions throughout the world, India, several places in Africa. But really in 2022, for this region and for the world, as you say, 2 weeks after my confirmation on February 24th, had Russia's unprovoked, unjustified, brutal invasion and war on the people of Ukraine. And this has really been one more reason to show support for the region, show support for Georgia. It's a key part of my visit here, not only to visit the tangible results of our 30 years of support across a wide array of projects, but really to show even more support at this critical time after.
I want to share with you the photo, which was yesterday distributed by the U.S. Embassy in Georgia. Actually, it's the first project, let me say so, for us, for locals, I mean for Georgians. This is like the beginning of the new era in Georgia, which was actually one of the first projects of
Well, I had the pleasure of not only hearing about that project yesterday and meeting with the executive team that did the development, but I had the pleasure of staying in that hotel
You did?
last night.
Okay.
So I had in fact, I think in the picture you just showed me, I could see the window of my hotel room.
You do?
Yes. And
I didn't know that.
Yes, I mean, but you know, hospitality, whether it's the Marriott Hotel you just showed me, or even in April of this year, the project we've most recently announced with the Ajari Group in Abu Stamani, the hospitality facility that we'll be financing, and we announced nearly $9 million of financing for that. So we have a long history, over 3 decades, of supporting the hospitality sector. There have been many other sectors that we have supported across 60 projects. The Development Finance Corporation and our predecessor, the U.S. government, has supplied $800 million of financing, whether it's in logistics or hospitality. And then today, to see this fantastic facility where we are today, and the American Hospital in Tbilisi, support for healthcare for the Georgian people. And today, we announced additional support for displaced Ukrainians.
$800 million US dollars. Can
Yes.
we consider it as total volume of the portfolio, correct?
That cumulatively
Cumulative,
over those 3
over
decades.
those 3
Yes,
decades.
exactly.
At the same time, while bringing back the issue about supporting Ukraine and a lot of things DFC is doing, DFC together with the Gazelle Finance will support displaced Ukraine SMEs as well, and including in Georgia.
Right.
And could you be more specific about what is behind of this initiative? I want to follow the steps of your being supportive after another crisis which began by 24th of February.
Well, I should say 2 things. First, yesterday, the very first visit I made upon my arrival here was to Fruit Logistics, a company that has received financing from Gazelle Finance. It was amazing to see that facility. But we also had an opportunity to talk about what Gazelle Finance will be doing for small enterprises from Ukraine that are displaced here. It's critically important for the rebuilding of Ukraine, for the survival of the Ukrainian economy, to support businesses that are displaced from their own country and temporarily located here or elsewhere in the region. But for businesses that are here in Georgia, often women-owned and women-led, particularly for the Ukrainians whose in their family, often the men are staying in Ukraine to fight the war. But for the women and children to come here and be able to keep their businesses alive, so at the day that we hope comes very soon, that those businesses can return to Ukraine, that they're still intact. And that's this program that we announced yesterday. When the war started in February, like the rest of the U.S. government, we began looking for ways that we could support Ukraine, and I charged our team with making sure that they found every way possible to support Ukraine. We have many investments there. We wanted to make sure our partners were doing okay. But as we thought regionally, we wanted to show our support and find ways to support Ukraine and the whole region. That's one of the reasons why I'm here today.
Nathan, can we evaluate more about, I want to resume part of our beginning, like last 30 years of DFC in Georgia and in region as well. And would you evaluate all these activities happening last 30 years in Georgia and the region, and how could it be?
Well, I'm not only impressed, I'm really proud. I'm really proud of the support that the United States government has given to this region, but let's talk specifically about Georgia. You know, as you mentioned, $800 million of support cumulatively. We probably have $250 to $300 million of current support outstanding, whether it's on lending to small enterprises through the Bank of Georgia, a support we've given there, ongoing support of the hospitality sector, an investment we made in logistics to support FedEx.
PACE Group and 50 million.
And then finally,
project.
the PACE Group, I mean, the Port of Poti. There couldn't be a more critical time to have an operating deep water port on the Black Sea, given Russia's blockade of the Ukrainian ports, the horrible implications for food security around the world that presents. It's terrific that we're able to support Georgia as a logistics center, as really a key link to help address these issues. So I evaluate our 30 years of support here as a testament to our partnership, the United States and Georgia, our close friendship, and the development of this country in a way that is really impressive and will continue in the future. The trajectory has got to continue to be upward. The enabling environment for that kind of investing needs to constantly improve, and it's a fantastic thing. We're looking for more opportunities to support more businesses to provide financing to, and I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to do that.
You mentioned about ongoing project as well,
Yeah.
financed and supported by DFC. I'm
Yeah.
talking about hospitality sector,
Right.
together with the Jara Group happening in Abastomani,
Right.
which is quite huge, 8.6 million.
8.6 million, you're right.
Yeah. So could you prioritize directions, sectors, which you prioritize when allocating
Right.
the funds? And how can we consider that which priorities do you identify for Georgia? It should be paid more attention. You mentioned about the ports, you mentioned about logistics, which are crucially important right now. So,
Well, first let me start globally.
please.
So President Biden has really emphasized that around the world there is a huge multi-trillion dollar annual infrastructure gap. We're very focused on providing support to help fill that infrastructure gap. And that infrastructure gap is in energy, and particularly we're focused on providing clean, sustainable energy that addresses the global climate crisis. That infrastructure gap is in communication. We're very focused on closing the digital divide in a trusted and safe way. Healthcare, critical to not just because of the pandemic, although that's obviously incredibly important. It's revealed the necessity of raising the level of healthcare around the world, providing critical care and resilience for future pandemics. And we want to support women and other underserved communities for financial inclusion, for the development of the economy, small business by small business. So that's our global perspective. And in regard to Georgia, there's certain strengths in the natural Georgian economy, logistics being really one of the key. We're looking for more opportunities in logistics, but healthcare, hospitality, areas that we've already been involved, supporting entrepreneurship and small businesses through on-lending. We would love to be able to find ways to support the energy sector. My understanding is that there are many potential projects that are teed up and are awaiting a clearer sort of enabling environment for those energy projects. We would love to be able to find ways that we can provide financial support there too.
It's investing in development, as far as I do understand. What makes the environment appealing for such investments?
Yeah, so the opportunity to make impact, as you say, through development, an enabling environment where you have transparency, adherence to high standards. From the United States perspective, we're not looking to cut corners. We want to provide support to projects that are at a high standard that supports a type of economy that benefits all. We don't want to provide financing that's unsustainable, that burdens countries with debt that they can't pay back. We're looking for projects that are commercially viable and stand on their own.
Okay. Mr. Nathan, we do have some projects. Some of them are suspended. That is usually happened because by the end of the day, Georgia is a part of the world and in the middle of the region where this disaster is happening called war in Ukraine, and before it's pandemic which still exists as a post-pandemic, let me say so, and reverse happening a lot. At the same time, Georgia was paying a lot of attention during these 30 years to the priorities connected to our geopolitical location as well. How Georgia could pay more attention to strengthen its connection through ports, through other infrastructure. Did we miss any kind of opportunities during these 30 years? We could do more, as PACE is doing right at ACE and making another opportunity for the deep port facilities, things like that. Is the infrastructure development crucially important for a country like Georgia is?
Well, first let's just touch on what's happened over 30 years. The picture you showed of 30 years ago, what the Marriott Hotel was like, and what's it like now. We need to acknowledge the massive progress that has been made. It's incredibly impressive, and it's important to keep that trajectory going. So I don't want to point to areas that have been missed. I want to look for opportunities in the future to continue that trajectory. Development is going to happen when you have the kind of infrastructure that's physical, but also infrastructure that's based on reform, transparency, the enabling environment to support investment.
Institutional development.
Yes, you need institutional development, and it needs to keep advancing in order to attract foreign investment, to attract natural local investment, and demonstrate the commercial opportunities that keep the economy going. That's really the basis to employ people, to provide more capital for future development.
Okay, given the current tense, I'm talking about again the geopolitical situation, do you consider refocusing and increasing financing in the Black Sea region?
Yes, absolutely. You know, I mentioned it earlier, DFC is open for business. We want to find more opportunities across the sectors that we've touched on. It's important to continue our partnership with Georgia and to continue our partnership with other countries in the region, particularly at this critical time, to show our strong and close relationship. We are your partner and want to continue doing that.
Thanks for the partnership. And my last question is about DFC possible rep office in Georgia. There were some talks, some conversations on the governmental level in the previous years, definitely. Is it still on as a project maybe, or
so
how can you respond?
What's amazing is we've done $800 million of financing across 60 projects without a representative here. We have deep ties with existing partners. I've met so many of them, businesswomen and businessmen who are doing incredible things here, and we want to keep those ties strong. We're considering what our global presence should be. The DFC is doing so much globally with very few people around the world. Almost all of us are based in DC, and we're considering a strategy for how to properly base people around the world. And of course, we're open to the idea of having somebody here.
Thank you so much, sir, for this interview and the opportunity.
Well, I really appreciate your opportunity. Thank you.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.